Could you just shoot straight and point out white boys like Asmon and X don't give a fuck when D and their entire friend group drops the N-word? Oh, that is 100%. If Asmongold and XQC have had an issue with Destiny saying the N-word as recently as like last week, I haven't seen it. I've never heard them criticize Destiny saying the N-word. That is definitely something that I will openly call out. Never have I ever heard them speak out against Destiny saying the N-word openly on his podcast once. But they got all the smoke for the term cracker. Okay, which is very odd. I mean, I'll be honest. I do find that very strange. You can clip that and ship it if you want. I do find it very strange because I know they don't like that. I know they don't like that word. So it's odd that like there aren't a ton. Maybe they have criticized it. I just haven't seen it on LSF. Like I said, it is a perplexing situation. It is quite a perplexing situation that a couple weeks ago, Destiny literally said the N-word, and that wasn't like, that did not go omega viral. Does anyone have that link? I'm going to look this up real quick. Because like right now, the discourse on LSF about anti-white racism is popping. Okay. There is no better time to be a gamer talking about anti-white racism. You know, at the top of the leaderboards over here, at the top of the leaderboards, there has been like, I guess they've like deleted some of them, or here it is. Actually not a fan of racism. Hasan sides with his mod. Frogan over insulting Ludwig. And it's just like so strange because this is like the third day. It's basically like the third day of this cracker discourse. Destiny literally said the N-word like 2 weeks ago. Straight up on his own podcast. Said the N-word. That was on LSF for like half a day. No updudes for that, I guess. Destiny gets a little too drunk on his podcast. 500 upvotes 19 days ago. Mission accomplished, soldier. Return to base. RL realizing this was a mistake. Why the f did he say it like Riley Reid? Just a little too drunk, guys. But remember, this only got 500 upvotes because, like, who cares, right? That's not that big of a deal. That's not that big of a deal. Let me look at this real quick. Let me see this real quick.
No, Dan.
Wait, reading off, I already did. There's
Notice
only one
how
that's
Dan
about the
isn't talking
threshold,
to
and I
his
already said
microphone
it.
at all. Even though Dan's talking at the same time as me, you can't even hear him because he's talking away from his microphone like a fucking inbred.
They can hear me.
They can't hear you, Dan, because you're not even talking into the microphone.
Okay.
If you do that one more time, I'm going to say the N-word.
Is it actually on your channel or his channel?
It's my channel.
What's up?
What up?
No!
I'm alive! Wait, the guy said that about me 50 times. I can say that.
It's so odd. It's so strange, bro, that a 40-year-old man with a child, 2 divorces under his belt, openly saying the M-word, and is 65% upvoted. I might be mistaken, but I did not hear Asmongold subreddit up in arms over it. I did not hear Asmongold on this behavior, and I'm sure he would be against this kind of thing, for the record. I didn't actually see XQC up in arms about this, like, because they love making these like, oh man, well I stand against racism, guys. I stand against racism, which is why I'm over here telling you unconditionally this cracker discourse has gone too far. I wonder what that's about. Reddit is too easily brigaded, and a lot of people, whether they acknowledge it or not, get duped into being willing or unwilling participants in Destiny's PR campaign. Because he was going unhinged bananas mode on Ludwig and Cutie and all of that shit. And then all of a sudden, they released the pressure valve. Frogan says cracker. Frogan says Ludwig engaged in cracker-like behavior. And then, oh my God. And then I do an hour of coverage on it saying, I don't think Frogan's reaction, the way that she reacted, is valid. However, I do understand where her anger is coming from, considering that, a lot of people falsely smear pro-Palestinian charities as like being pro-Hamas, and offering any credence to that narrative, at worst, basically solidifies it in the eyes of a lot of people in the margins, or at best, basically says that you're capitulating to the reactionary mob that will come after you and cancel you. And I think that was a fairly nuanced critique of the situation, where I said I recognize the frustration that Frogan had, and also simultaneously recognize that Ludwig himself is an overall good dude, and I think he was doing his best. And regardless of that, his second statement after donating $10,000, which is great, was simply to say that I'm worried about members of my community not being fully on board with a charity. Now, that's not clippable. That's really interesting you said that, because someone did clip it, but you wouldn't see it because it got downvoted heavily. Buddy, your community was on me in Discord for getting beat up in school for being white. Yeah, we We know, brother. We know. We'll talk about that in a second, too. The thread you were talking about, unless I've got deleted. I mean, those threads can pop off, by the way, all day, every day. I don't really give a shit. My point here is that those threads are absolutely, without a doubt, an echo chamber. You go anywhere in the real world and try to engage with people, unless you're at a clan meeting, you go anywhere in the real world and talk about like how awful it is that you get bullied for being white, a group of white guys are going to laugh at you. I myself am a white guy who laughs at that notion that you are being personally victimized and being hit with racist attacks for the marginalization that you experience as a white guy. And I don't think most white guys are like this, for the record. That's why, I mean, in Florida, there's dudes who call themselves crackers. You know what I mean? It's a moniker that is self-adopted because the etymology of it is different. The etymology also still gives power to white people in this circumstance. And this is a conversation that I've had a million times over. It's a complex conversation, only if you want to make it complex. But I am totally fine with having this conversation over and over again with those who are willing to listen, except it's much easier to just go, no, f you, you're just an anti-white racist. And I think a lot of people, especially white people who are in these circles or who are extremely online, because I do see this like on Reddit more than anywhere else, have the capacity to lean in to the reactionary tendencies, and that is a very fearful prospect that white identitarians, Nazis and the like, can so quickly weaponize this discourse, talk about like, yeah, white people are the victims, actually. And if you looked at those Reddit posts, if you are one of those people who's like, yeah, no, white people get, ritualistically humiliated, blah, 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 blah. If you are one of those people who feels that way or finds themselves in the throes of this kind of discourse and leaning on the side of like white people being victims of racism, reverse racism, if you want to call it, look to those who are on your side, look to those who are defending you and what some of the things they're saying. And perhaps then you will understand that you are on the wrong side of this argument because your side is filled to the brim with dudes who are using this discourse to further radicalize you, oftentimes to much success. This is the reason why, although this is a laughable notion, I routinely find myself defending this issue, even though it's a silly one. People who say stuff like, isn't Hasan openly racist like all the time? He is only not racist against blacks and Muslims, which makes it okay. Sometimes it's good to just take a peek at like people who are on your side defending you on the white people are under attack discourse and consider what their worldview may look like. People that say blacks and Muslims. Hasan thinks black people can do no wrong. Shit like that. Here's another one. They're talking about the word cracker because I laughed at someone complaining how racist it is for a white person to be called cracker. So basically Hasan says judging someone by the color of their skin by using a racially motivated slurs is okay. He got so horny that he couldn't even write this correctly. Surely this will lead to consequences from the Twitch moderation team. Remember, folks, I have the motherfucking pass. Probably said it before, but used to be a very fanatic right-winger and you got me out of it. Keep up the good work. It helps. Yeah, this is why I do it. This is why I do what I do, because I want to make sure that people that are on the edges, on the precipice of radicalization towards right-wing ideas, I hope that they can take a deep breath and reconsider their positions before leaning in to the comfortable bosom of right-wing reactionary politics, because that kind of discourse, that kind of ideological aspects can be very comforting for people that want their biases to be reaffirmed, for people that want their biases to be reaffirmed by others instead of re-examining the way they see the world. That kind of discourse, this kind of discourse can be captivating. It can create a safe space for them. It can make them feel like instead of doing the hard work of like really reconsidering, really trying to empathize with people that have less than them or are different than them, it's much easier to just find a group of people who say, no, dude, your shit's actually fire. Let me tell you here, let me give you a little bit more about like how white people are getting fucked over. These people will simultaneously say you aren't white because you're Turkish, then get mad when you try to explain to them white is a made-up concept made to only include the preferred in-group. I know, which is ironic because they don't personally see this as well. Do you adhere to this rule, though? If you personally think that I am an anti-white racist and that is like a real concept, like that I see white people and I think like, oh man, this white person is going to colonize my space or whatever, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. I'm white. Now, if you don't consider me to be white, well then you know, you're kind of telling on yourself, while also personally coming to the recognition that whiteness is a political tool and you are currently applying it. The people that I consider to be in the out group, if I were to draw boundaries, are not done on inalienable characteristics, but instead on issues like their thinking, reactionary thinking. As you guys know, I personally am not anti-religion either. I am, however, anti-religious fundamentalism. Religious fundamentalism that causes people to try to take away certain people's rights and liberties on the boundaries of religion. It doesn't matter if this is a Muslim fundamentalist, doesn't matter if it's a Jewish fundamentalist, doesn't matter if it's a Christian fundamentalist, right? If I personally didn't believe that people could not shake away some of these opinions, I wouldn't be doing what I do. If I thought that like people could not be reasoned with and change their minds, why the fuck would I be spending any time whatsoever? This is something that I hope people can be a little bit more charitable about and understanding on. I know not a lot of charity out there, not a lot of charity here, especially if you're primed into so much hatred, especially if you watch a lot of drama videos that say I suck, that I'm awful. But I do hope that in this very moment, you can maybe be a little bit more understanding of what I'm trying to say. You won't lose anything if you try to comprehend what I'm saying here. I promise. But in any case, it does strike me as odd when a content creator openly says the N-word and it doesn't drive discourse for 3 days in the same way that another content creator saying cracker does. I don't know why that is the case, because I know that XQC and Asmongold would both not find it to be conscionable or appropriate. Froyo said cracker with a negative connotation to offend Ludwig. Let's not pretend this edgy joke is equivalent. That stuff is banned here, isn't it, Lamau? When will he understand that there's a difference between saying a slur for a joke and target a slur? Like, these people unironically are saying calling a white person a cracker is literally worse than a white guy openly saying the N-word. That is the discourse for these guys, which if you were to have this conversation with real people out in the real world, I suspect they would look at you like you're an insane person. Do you understand? Like, that is a psychotic part of discourse. Why are these people more offended than Ludwig, who it was said to? I know. That's a whole other aspect of this as well. Oh, for the record, I do want to mention something here. For intent, as far as intent goes, you were saying intent matters more than the actual words itself. In a situation like that, calling a white woman a Karen would be just as hateful and just as harmful, except we have no disagreement there. Most people would laugh at you if you were to try to champion the anti-Karen cause, to say that Karen is actually a racial slur, which many people that write articles have tried to do. The intent matters more than the word itself would imply that calling someone a redneck would be just as harmful as calling someone the N-word, which is ridiculous. No one would argue on that front. The intent matters more would be akin to saying that a group of gay guys calling someone a breeder would be just as harmful as a group of straight guys calling a gay person the F word. This was at the heart of the conversation that I was genuinely trying to have with that one kid who said that he was bullied in high school as a nerd in a predominantly black high school 13 years ago. That led him to believe that personally, anti-white racism happens and it's very real. And that discourse in my own Discord, where I tried to explain to him, listen, there's a difference between systemic racism. Black people aren't just upset about the mean words and how they hurt their feelings. It is an invocation of that word that relitigates all the racial violence that black people have been historically subjected to. Obviously, that's why it's different. The same conversation that I've had a million times over. The issue, of course, is that many people who have these assertions will never actually see what my opinion is. They will never do their own personal investigations. That is the issue. Also, the other reason why people are extra mad about Frogan, who is like white passing herself, half fully white, calling another full white person and their activities to be one born out of privilege and a privileged blind spot, saying it's cracker behavior. The reason why that is considered completely and utterly unpermissible is because she wears a hijab. Because no matter how white your skin is personally, you will have your whiteness status revoked by other people who don't consider you to be a part of the in-group. The reason why people are mad is because she's trashing Ludwig for no reason. Stop brushing it under the rug. No, I've also talked about that quite extensively. I don't think it was for no reason. I think her reaction was unwarranted, but I understand why she reacted the way that she did, because her criticism was, if she just kept it to being critical, then it would be perfectly valid. People would still get mad at her for it, but I'm not going to sit here and say it was for not for no reason. It was not. And also, it is hilarious because like the people that are mad are doing this on behalf of a guy who was called privileged and behaving in a cracker-like way, and they're mad on behalf of him while also simultaneously on him. You have no idea how much I think that stuff is crazy. The analysis is off though. Kevil's gains traction by accusing Destiny of shady shit. Twitch community rides the wagon. Destiny gets banned. Kevil gets caught lying. Haha, whoopsie, no major condemnation. What do you mean pushback? Who cares? I think people who fight for me on my behalf are too lost in the sauce. I hope she gets none, and I'll get my revenge by leading the best life I possibly can. Hope she does the same. No pushback for being racist. For on a person who is donating with charity, you should care, because you shouldn't want that type of behavior to become normalized. You're not her parent, sure, but you have those who will go by your value system. And if being racist towards whites is okay, then that behavior will become normal in your community. I promise you, my time's better spent focusing on what I want to do than pushing back against her. And I think pushback will happen naturally from people seeing clips of her and deciding to watch or not watch her. I don't got to lead a campaign for that to happen. They're like mad that he's not doing a conquest against Frogan for saying that his behavior was cracker-like. I don't think a single person who's not insane is wanting a campaign. It's just a direct statement of condemnation would probably suffice. Like, this is literally, I'm sorry, and I'm using this in like the way that an anti-SJW would use. This is straight up like Tumblr queer posting as a radlib in 2014, okay? Like, this guy is literally like, please give a condemnation about anti-white racism. Please. I'm demanding a condemnation from you, a white guy. Like, how have we gotten to a point where the very same people that literally would complain about radlibs being unhinged on the timeline, turning around and yelling at a white content creator that he should actually go out and issue a swift condemnation against the usage of the term C word, the users of the term cracker. It's always the snowflakes get offended by everything crowd that turns around and behaves in this way. And it's so ridiculous. It's so weird they're defending Lud for the C word, but we're completely okay with saying Destiny was going to jerk it to fake cutie porn. Yes, because they have no genuine value system beyond defending whatever the Destiny has chosen to defend or attack at that very moment. The anti-SJWs have firmly become the SJWs. It's pathetic. The Twitch space seems to have an overall idea that you can't be racist towards white people, and this passive "I'm gonna do my own thing" will imply that you're okay with it. I'm not even saying that what she said was as serious as other things said before, because this deep in a thread, I clearly don't understand how clout works. I don't think many people will see the statements you've made about her. And the time spent better? Sure, I guess. Was it worth then to change one of your videos that had a joke about Hasan and the streamer privilege thing, because he's also a strong force in the no way to be racist towards white people since they hold social power camp? Like, his resentment and his animosity, like bringing me up in this circumstance, it kind of betrays all of the importance of the C-word discourse that he claims to care about. Dude's got a botnet of broken-brained white guys in their late 40s. That's what I'm saying. It's like a sad state of affairs. It's an incredibly sad state of affairs to operate this way. Bro, this whole thing is extremely manic and unhealthy. Destiny's a stranger. Ludwig's a stranger. Go spend time with your kids. Destiny's not only a stranger, but a fascist. You see a cop slaughter a black guy and you just say the cop isn't racist, but cracker you jump at. Great take. I genuinely don't understand how you can be this deep in the cut for a whole different adult. It strikes me as very odd. Like, look at this. Look at how many tweets. I've already blocked him because he probably was also doing this for me. EMS, EMT work, currently in nursing school, Democrat for life, this guy. It's fun. How funny is that the passiveness, meaning he's okay with anti-white racism coming from that freak, is also Frogan's point that his passiveness means it's no skin off his back not to support Palestinians being genocided. Ludwig is supporting Palestinians. That's the other part of this discourse. He is. He openly wanted to make a statement that issued support to Palestinians. He gave $10,000 to a Palestinian charity. It's not like he's a secret Zionist or something. The only aspect that I had issue with, the only aspect I took issue with his statement was the second half. If he had not even said the second half, it would have been a 100% 10-10 perfect thing to do. Good guy Ludwig's a good dude. He did a good thing. And then after doing the good thing, he made a statement that, you know, inadvertently capitulated to the right-wing framing on the issue a little bit. That's it. If 10% of your fan base was as dedicated as the Divorcelli crew, we would dominate the internet so bad. I don't want that, though. I don't want that for you. That's the problem. Like, sure, if people are spreading misinformation or whatever, and you see that and you want to correct it, that's one thing. But I don't want you to fucking go and like harass and cyberstalk people that I've declared enemies, you know? But his statement assuring his Zionist part of the audience was up, honestly, in his show Palestinians Arabs, that he doesn't really care. No, I think he does care. I think he does care. And I think he's like genuinely scared, just like many other people are, that if he says something that's like a little wrong, that a lot of institutions that are brand adjacent are going to come down on him and declare him to be anti-Semitic. Guys, you're in the community of someone who does this professionally every day. I have criticized anti-Semitism. I've fought back against anti-Semitism every single day since October 7 and every single day before October 7. And that hasn't stopped organizations like StopAntisemitism.org from declaring me to be anti-Semite of the week. Why did they do that? Well, they did that because I'm pro-Palestinian. So a lot of these people that seemingly care about anti-Semitism don't actually care about anti-Semitism all that much, and want to cynically weaponize it against any kind of discourse that sees Palestinians as human beings worthy of life, worthy of emancipation, worthy of a life of dignity. That's the real issue here. And when someone capitulates to that framing, or someone demonstrates that they're afraid of being branded as such, then ultimately you are, in a way, capitulating to the mob. You're saying that right-wing reactionary people can scold me into oblivion in a way that actually materially harms me, and therefore, I am going to put my name out there. I am going to say I'm pro this cause, but also simultaneously tell you why I'm not going to do a full-blown charity drive. And the irony, of course, is that if Ludwig had never said the second part, it would have been perfect. But the reason why a lot of people are extra critical of Ludwig is because he falls in the same boundaries that I do. Okay, someone trying to do the right thing. Someone trying to be empathetic. Someone trying to be empathetic even when the situation is polarizing. And when you actually do that, your side also yells at you. And I know this better than anyone else. After all, there are people who want to put me on the block list on TikTok. Think about that. That should never sway you away. That should never stop you from advocating for what is right, by the way. It shouldn't. Because if you are a real leftist, if you're a real progressive, you're not doing this because Palestinian people and Arabs are going to find you to be cool. You're doing this because you know it's right. You do the right thing because it's right, not because it makes you feel good, not because you get hyped up by marginalized communities that will find you to be cool and swagged out. There are definitely a lot of people who are able to basically create these narratives, right? Going back to the anti-white discourse that has been endlessly talked about. This is the same exact principle behind canceling someone because they said white genocide is POG. White genocide is a completely made up concept because white genocide is done how? It's done by consensual adults of different racial backgrounds engaging in consensual, loving relationships. White genocide has not happened and will never happen as far as what history has shown us. And that's a good thing, by the way. Like, actual white genocide is in like, oh, you're white, we're putting you in a Holocaust-style concentration camp. Like that kind of genocide. Oh, you're white, we're going to do the Armenian genocide style genocide. Oh, you're white, we're going to do, Palestinian style ethnic cleansing that Israel is doing currently. We're going to trap you in an open air prison and bomb you. That kind of real genocide happens all the time. And many people don't care about that. And then they turn around and say white genocide is occurring. Why is it occurring? Because of miscegenation. Why is it occurring? Because white people are being bred out. That, in and of itself, is a ridiculous notion, and yet people still try to advance that cause. And when you get into, I love you, bro, but this discourse is unproductive, they are unconvincible, you're wrong. I know in my heart that there are people who have never considered it on these boundaries before and will change their minds. You don't know that. And if I were to give up on people and say, oh, they'll never understand this, if I felt that way, then I wouldn't be doing what I do. Then my job is meaningless. There is no reason for me to say anything at all.
I've never defended calling people racial slurs ever. So if somebody calls me a racial slur, I'm not in favor of that. I don't call people racial slurs. And I think that if people call people racial slurs, I think it's generally bad. I don't think I've ever defended that. So, yeah.
That takes us back to the N-word with a hard R.
Sure.
Why?
Please, for the love of God, just be consistent in whatever it is you're going to say. I don't care about logs and me saying the N-word or whatever. I say the N-word all the time in private. Like, I don't give a about it. But I'll admit that I leak my own likes about that.
But don't you think, as you said, that using those words actually gives motivation and strength to people who have hate in their hearts? If you use that casually and normalize it in a way that's not hateful, you use it in a way that's not hateful, the side effect is that it normalizes it, then people who do use it in a hateful way will be more likely to use it. And you're part of that problem, Stephen.
I don't agree. I understand the thought process, but I don't know if using certain words within different contexts is going to necessarily normalize like the hateful use of that word. I would never reach into your private life to find out if there are things that you joke about that I don't agree with.
I guess the difference there is, you wouldn't reach, but I didn't reach. You broadcasted it.
I don't care about logs of me saying the N-word.
Yeah, he both simultaneously broadcasted in public and have also simultaneously broadcasted that he says the N-word in private. That was the whole original N-word manifesto discourse. That was the original falling out between. That was the reason why I stopped talking to him. No matter how hard his fan base tries to reframe history and rewrite history, this was literally the last blow. Before this, there was definitely, like, I did the exact same shit that I've done with Aiden Ross, did the exact same shit with many, many other people in the past, where I always was like, maybe we can work it out. Maybe we can work it out.
Having conversations, the context there is the kind that would lead to an increase in hate. I think the context of casual conversation on the internet, having humor, having fun conversations as you have on your streams, that leads to the normalization of the word without any educational value.
I would agree with that. I think I would agree with that. What is it? I'm curious. What is the feeling that you get that makes you feel bad about it?
It signals to me that you don't give a damn about people who are struggling in ways that you are not struggling. So I actually have to empathize harder because I'm like, maybe this is not a very good person. That's what I feel. Like, if you're so carelessly using that word, then maybe you're not actually thinking deeply about the suffering in the world. To be a student of human nature.
That's a great take, by the way, from Lex. Like, even Lex, who is normally like a permanent fence sitter, issued a position on this, it seems. The problem with the cracker discourse is not that I want everyone to go around and constantly call white people crackers, because it's cringe as especially if you're a white person, okay? Like, it's cringe. The reason why I have this conversation about the term cracker is specifically to help people understand that the underlying conversation is not about the word cracker at all. It's about, and always will be, about systemic racism, real violence, historical violence, and contemporary violence, because those who champion the discourse that you mustn't ever say cracker, you're being anti-white racist, are trying to basically flatten out racial violence. You flatten out racial violence and you try to, in a way, whether you are a willing participant or unwilling or unaware of what you're doing, you're genuinely engaging in an ahistoric revisionist attitude. The moment that you try to flatten all racism equally in the same way that like racism is dished out systematically against marginalized communities by a powerful in-group, when you try to reverse that, reality, all of a sudden you have destroyed thousands of years of colonial violence, chattel slavery, humiliation, subjugation, mass rapes. All of that is gone. This is the reason why this is a point of contention that I just don't simply drop.